আচ্ছা, তাহলে আমরা পড়ব হচ্ছে what are the different parts of flower seed. Germination of pollen grain completed. What is double fertilization? What is double fertilization? শুনছিস? Double fertilization. Double fertilization. What do you mean by double fertilization? The higher plants angiosperm generally show double fertilization. What happened? Generally a flower consists of 4 floral appendages. First is the sepal, then the petal, then the androecium, and then the one major term is the gynoecium. These 4 floral parts are present in a complete flower. The gynoecium consists of ovary, style, and terminal end is called stigma. What happened in the ovary? When we draw a ovary generally made by, suppose this is a ovary made by several, one or more carpel. Generally it made by one or more carpel. What is the carpel? Carpel is the structural unit of gynoecium. This carpel consists of the ovary, a style, and stigma. Within the ovary, suppose this is the ovary. Within the ovarian wall, some spongy tissue present. This spongy tissue is called placenta. From the spongy tissue, one or more ovule develop. This is a ovule. I draw a single ovule. This is the ovule and this is a ovary. This ovule, when we study the internal structures of ovule consists of one or more integuments. What is integument? Integument is the cover of the ovule. Within the integument, several tissue present. This tissue is called nucleus. This is called nucleus tissue. The outer covering of the ovule is called integument. It may be number 1 or 2, and the inner side of the ovule, the nucleus tissue are present. Some of the nucleus tissue undergo a special cell, form a special cell. The special cell is called megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cell. One cell may transform into megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis. Meiosis is the process by which this megaspore mother cell undergo division and produce 4 cells. Produce 4 cells. All the 3 cells degenerate and 1 cell is transformed into megaspore. This is the first cell of the female gametophyte. So this is called megaspore. Megaspore. This megaspore in later stage, the cell of the nucleus of the megaspore undergo 4 divisions, mitosis divisions. Suppose this is a megaspore. I draw a megaspore. This is a megaspore. The nucleus of the megaspore undergo division. As a result, 4 division, 1 nucleus. First division produces 2 nucleus. Second division produces each nucleus produces 1, and this is the one more. Ultimately, after 2 division, 4 nucleuses are developed. Later, these 4 nucleus undergo each nucleus undergo again mitotic division, produces 2. So this cell produces 1, this cell produces 1, this cell produces 1, and this cell produces 1. And this is the 8 cell structure formed with 8 nucleus structure formed within the megaspore. This is a megaspore. Where it is present? This megaspore present in the ovule. Where ovule is present? Ovule is present in the ovary. What is the ovary? Ovary is the part of the carpel. Suppose this is the 8 nucleus containing megaspore. This is the female gametophyte. So, a angiospermic plant contain 1 megaspore, and each megaspore contain 8 nucleus. This is called embryo sac. Embryo sac. This embryo sac generally, again, the outside is the integument. This is integument. 1 or 2 layer integument, and within the integument the nucellus tissue present, and within the embedded nucellus tissue the embryo sac is present. This embryo sac contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nucleus, and this 8 nucleus later converted into 7 cell stage. This is cell and these nucleus are arranged in special manner. One is the one large cell and 2 small cell. These 2 cells are called the synergids, and this is the large cell is called egg. This is called egg. In the opposite end, another 3 cells are present. These 3 cells are called antipodal. Antipodal cell. And these 2 cells are called synergids. This one cell is called egg. And a central cell is present. The central cell is present. This central cell contain a 2 nucleus. Later, these 2 nucleus fuses and ultimately form the polar nucleus. This is a polar nucleus. This is polar nucleus. This is polar nucleus. In this stage, a ovule generally gain its last stage of maturity. And the opening, the apical aperture is called micropyle. micropyle. This is the way through which the pollen tube try to enter within the ovule. This is the pollen tube. And in the pollen tube, what is the pollen tube? Pollen tube is the extension of the pollen. The inner membrane in time extends, form a tube-like structure, and this tube-like structure form a pollen tube. Within the pollen tube, two male nuclei, male gametes are present. Two male gametes are present. This is the general structure, general structure that form before fertilization. In later stage, what happened? In later stage, this is a total structure of the fertilization of male and female reproductive unit. This is the stigma, this is the style, and this is the ovary. Within the ovary, suppose a ovule, a stalk of the ovule. This is a stalk, and this is the ovule. Within the ovule, the embryo sac are present. This structure. These embryo sacs contain egg, one egg, and two synergids, three nucleus, three cell antipodal cell, and one is the central polar nucleus or central cell. And the pollen grain germinate by absorbing the nectar that present in the stigma. The internal wall germinate, extends through the germ tube, germ pore, and ultimately it grow through the style, and ultimately it reach at the top of the micropylar end. And in this is the pollen tube, and in the pollen tube, two male gametes are present. This is then we consider this large structure. What happened? When we draw a special large embryo sac, suppose this is a large embryo sac, and apical part is the pollen tube, and this is a pollen tube come in contact with the embryo sac. What happened? The pollen tube contain two male gametes, and embryo sac contain 7 cell and 8 nucleus stage. 7 cell, this is the egg, this is called egg, and 2 synergids. This is the 3 cell, 3 antipodal cells, and second is the central cell. Central cell contains diploid polar, two nuclear fuses forming a diploid structure. One male gamete. This is the male gamete. This is female gamete. The male gamete Mg. This is the Fg female gamete. This is the polar nucleus. Polar nucleus. One male gamete enter into the egg. This is the egg nucleus. One male gamete enter into this egg and ultimately enter and fuse. Fusion takes place between male gamete and the egg nucleus. In this way, a fertilization occurs, and after fertilization, a zygote is formed. Zygote. The first fertilization is done by the one male nuclei. This is the first fertilization. Second, the other nucleus enter into this embryo sac, and ultimately it reach at the vicinity of the polar nucleus, and then it fuse with this. So what happened here? Each cell, the chromosomal status of each cell is single N, applied in nature. This is N. When one egg fuse with the other N male gamete, it produces zygote 2N, double chromosomal status. Here what happened? Here in this case, this is a one nucleus N, the another nuclei is the N. So in the development, during the development of the embryo sac, 2N fuses, forming a diploid polar nucleus. This diploid polar nucleus, when fused with the another N of the male nucleus, then N plus N plus N, producing 3N, producing 3N chromosomal status. And this is another fertilization. This fertilization, after fertilization, the second fertilization. Two male nuclei, one male nuclei fuses with the egg, and other male nuclei fuses with the polar nucleus, and forming a 3N endosperm. So this is called double fertilization. The double fertilization means a fertilization made by one male nuclei fusion or that fuse with the egg, and other male nuclei fuse with the polar nucleus, producing triploid endosperm. So first fertilization producing a zygote, and second fertilization producing a triploid endosperm. As the two fertilization occur in angiospermic female reproductive structures, this is called double fertilization. Double fertilization. This is the main concept about the sexual reproduction of flowering. এবারে বই থেকে কারণ ভিডিওতেই তো তোর এটা হয়ে যাওয়া উচিত। হুম, এটা ভিডিও হয়নি, তাহলে তো হয়ে গেল। এবার প্রশ্নগুলো বলে দিই। Pollen grains germinates only if it fall on the stigma of the same plant species, otherwise it degenerate. Why pollen grain do not germinate? When, in what condition pollen grain do not germinate? The condition when the pollen is not transferred to the stigma of the same species. So different then when it fallen into the other genus, then pollen grain do not germinate. This is the pollen pistil interaction when incompatible. Pollen pistil interaction occurring incompatible, then the pollen do not germinate. In what condition pollen do not germinate? When pollen fall in the stigma of the other genus. That is why pollen do not undergo germination and it degenerate. The pollen grain on falling on the stigma is stimulated to germinate due to the secretion of the stigma, the sugars by the stigma. So what is the sugar of the stigma? This is called nectar. How pollen germinate? When the sugary content nectar is absorbed by the pollen, then the pollen intine of the pollen grain germinate, pass out as a tube through the pollen germ pore. The pollen of the exine of the pollen tube grow out of the pollen grain, carrying at its tip the generative nuclei and the tube nucleus. That is the tube nucleus and generative nuclei. During what type of two cells, two nuclei present in the pollen tube? Two nuclei generally present in the pollen tube. One is the vegetative nuclei and another is the tube nuclei. Generative nuclei and tube nuclei. The generative nuclei divided undergo sperm or male gamete. So what is the formation of the male gamete? What is the source of the male gamete? There is a male gamete, so the generative nuclei. And what is the tube nuclei? Tube nuclei is the cell that provide the nutrition of the male gamete. Thus, in a germinating pollen grain, three nuclei, which is not separated by the cell wall, they share a common cytoplasm. Which cytoplasm? The cytoplasm of the pollen. Cytoplasm of the pollen contribute the nutrition to all three nuclei. One nuclei the generative nuclei, one nuclei the tube nuclei, and other two nuclei is the male gamete or sperm. Those sperms are produced from the division by the division of the generative nuclei. So what is the structure? What happened when a pollen all a grow? Pollen grow in the anther. Pollen grow in the anther. Anther has four locular structure. This is the anther. Four locules are present in the anther. Four chamber. Within the chamber, different layers are present, and a centered position of the anther form the sporogenous tissue. This sporogenous tissue undergo meiosis, producing million of pollen. This is the pollen. Suppose I consider a single pollen. This is the inner structure, inner membrane. This is called the intine, and other is the exine. In some position, intine and exine fuses, leaving a gap. This gap is called germ pore. This is the region of the germ pore. When these pollen fall in the stigma, the inner intine grow by absorbing the nectar, sugary substance, and forming a tube. During germination, in normal case, it contains two nuclei. One is the vegetative and other is the generative. One is আমাদের বই বলতে tube nuclei, tube, and another is the generative. So in this tube and generative, these two cell stage, later when the pollen tube grow, these generative nuclei divide. Generative nuclei divide and producing two. When these two nuclei come out through this tube, and ultimately what structure develop in the tube? A previous type, a lagging structure called tube nuclei, and the generative nuclei undergo division, producing two male gamete. And a total area contains a single cytoplasm. The single cytoplasm surrounds all three nuclei. In this stage, this is the male gamete, this is another male gamete, and this is the tube nucleus. The main final structure of the pollen tube contains three nucleus structure within the pollen tube. Now the pollen tube enters one of the pollen tube nuclear related growth. The pollen tube they were down, they disintegrate. The pollen tube grow through the stigma and style by dissolving the tissue with the help of the enzyme, and this is the ovary. And this is the tube nucleus which had directed to the growth of the pollen tube all the way down, now disintegrate. Now the pollen tube enter into the synergid and releases its two sperm nuclei. So two nuclei generally contain, the pollen tube contains two male gamete. One male gamete fertilize the egg, and other male gamete fertilize the polar nuclei. Of these, the one sperm or male nuclei fuse with the egg cell nucleus to form the zygote, while the other sperm nucleus moves towards the two polar nuclei in the central cell and fuses with them. Thus, three nuclei fuse together. This is called triple fusion. So, double fertilization means one term is the one male gamete fuses with the egg. This is the third fertilization. And other male gamete or sperm fuses with the polar nuclei. This is called a second fertilization. That is why it is called the double fertilization. And what is triple fusion? Triple fusion is the structure. Here, this is the triple fusion. Two polar nuclei. This is the one polar nuclei. The polar nuclei number one. This is the polar nuclei number two. When this one and two polar nuclei fuse, this is the another fusion. It is a single fusion, and later the male nuclei fuses with it. This is the 1, 2, and 3. Three nucleus as the fusion occurred at the center of the central cell of the embryo sac. This is called the triple fusion. Triple fusion. What is triple fusion? Triple fusion is the process by which the two polar nuclei fuses with each other, and later these two fused polar nuclei fuse with the rest of the male sperm nucleus. That is why, as the three nuclei fuse at the central cell of the embryo sac, then this is the fusion is called triple fusion. So, what is the end product of triple fusion? End product of the triple fusion is the formation of the three endosperm. But this is not a triple fusion. It is the main fertilization. After main fertilization, the male gamete and the egg nuclei fuses, forming a diploid zygote. This zygote, this is the primary single cell diploid first cell of the plant body. This cell undergo several mitotic division, and ultimately it form a embryo proper. And total structure after fertilization, the total structure, this is the ovary. Within the ovary, the ovule is present. This ovule contains embryo sac, and within the embryo sac, when fertilization takes place, then the zygote is formed here, and later the endosperm is formed here, and totally that this fertilized seed, fertilized ovule, this structure is called seed. When fertilization properly completed, then the ovule converted into seed, and the ovary converted into a fruit. Ovary converted into fruit, and the ovule converted into seed. And within the seed, some portion of the seed may contain endosperm and must contain zygote. Without zygote, seed cannot produce any plant. What is the function of the endosperm? Endosperm provide the nutrition for the development of the zygote to produce a single plant. হলো এটা এরপরে কি আছে তাহলে হয়ে গেল fate of the floral parts after fertilization. After fertilization, the floral parts flower has served its purpose. The petals, stamen, style, and stigma wither and generally fall out. After fertilization, when the ovary transforms into fruit, the other floral parts, accessory parts, as the sepal and petal, and the endoecium, that is the stamens, all are withered and shaded from the flower. The calyx may either fall off or may remain intact in a dried and shriveled form. Sometimes calyx may present and it remains attached with the fruit. What type of fruit? They contain sepal. The example is the Dilenna chalta. Dilenna indica is the fruit which is covered by a persistent sepal. In brinjal, another family, brinjal, মানে বেগুন, green calyx persist and remain attached to the ripe fruit. That the members of the Solanaceae, tomato, brinjal, the sepal remains persistent. But the petal, generally petal and androecium, they never persist. They are shriveled or withered. The ovary enlarged to form a fruit and the ovarian wall forming the fruit wall. The ovary wall may either form a dry or hard fruit wall or the fleshy fruit wall. That is what is the nature of the dry fruit and the fleshy fruit? When we consider a ovary, suppose we consider a ovary. Suppose we consider a ovary. This is a ovary. Within the ovary, ovule forming a seed present. Within the seed, zygote develop, and some parts of the seed contains endosperm, and it is covered by a integument. In some cases, this ovary converted into, when the ovary generally ovary wall generally generally consists of three layers: epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. The outer layer is called epicarp. This is very thin and leathery, and the innermost layer is very hard. Generally, it is a hard structure, and the other part is the fleshy in nature. The mesocarp, when we consider a mango, what is the structure? Mango generally contains a very thin outer covering. This is the epicarp. Outer covering is epicarp, and inner seed, the seed coat is very hard, and this is called endocarp. Within the seed, embryo is present. And rest of the fruit that we eat is fleshy, and this is the mesocarp. These occur in the fleshy fruit. But when we consider a nut, the three layer, epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp, together they fuse. Three layers are fused, and it remains in very dry and hard, and it accumulates different resistance chemicals within the seed coat, and this is the dry fruit. When three layers of the ovarian wall are fused with each other and it loses all its water content, then this type of fruit is called dry fruit. Generally, it is found in nut. Hello? The calyx may either the fruit contain one or more seed which are developed from one or more ovule attached to the ovary by means of placenta. What is placenta? Placenta is the inner spongy tissue. What is placenta? This is in immature stage when a ovary contains a inner spongy tissue. This inner spongy tissue is called placenta, from which the stalk-like structure develops. This stalk-like structure ultimately it form a ovule. So the spongy tissue present in the inner lining of the ovarian wall is called placenta, through which a ovule remains attached by means of a stalk. This stalk is called funicle. And this is the placenta. Placenta is a soft tissue present that remains attached to the inner wall of the carpel. This is the placenta. A fruit contains one or more seeds which are developed. And when, how, why a fruit contains one or more seed? When a ovary contains one more than one ovule, then the condition develop. At that condition, more than one seed may present. When fruit is ripe, the seed contains inside and released by another method and grow into the new plant in suitable condition. What is the when the germination of the seed, when the seed get oxygen and it get different air, oxygen, air, sunlight and temperature as well as water, then the dormancy of the seed is broken and the seed coat is ruptured and the inner embryo develop, forming a small plantlet. This is called the germination of seed. For germination, different chemicals are different physiological process may occur within the embryo, and some external factors also are very important to rupture the seed coat. The fate of various parts of the ovary after fertilization during the formation of the fruit is as follows. Ovary transformed into fruit, ovary and wall transformed into pericarp, ovule transformed into after fertilization transformed into seed, placenta stalk of the seed, the placenta converted into stalk of the seed, outer integument, the outer integument of the seed is called the testa, and inner integument of the ovule is called the tegument. In later stage, we shall discuss about the structure of the seed. Generally, a seed, a ovule, when the ovule is fertilized, then ovule transformed into seed, and this seed contains two integument. One is the testa, and other is the tegument. The testa and tegument contains the seed coat, and the secondary nucleus is endosperm. Then after triple fusion, two polarity when fusion with the male and the second male gamete, then the triple fusion occur, and the secondary nucleus develop. This secondary nucleus undergo meiotic division, forming three end endosperm. Egg cell and synates. Egg cell generally from the embryo, and two synates that acts as what are the synates? The synates present two cells. These are two cells present in attached with the egg. When the egg is fertilized, the two synates disintegrate. Egg and synates ultimately it takes part in the function of the embryo. Antibodal cell. These are cells are present opposite the egg cell. There's three number of cells, and they disintegrate when the ovule is converted into seed. এটা হলো গল্প। হয়েছে? হয়েছে? এর পরের দিন পড়াবো হচ্ছে সিড।